Something is shifting in the landscape of modern dating. If you are a man in your 50s, you have likely noticed it already. Women in their late 20s, women who might not have looked at you twice a decade ago, are suddenly the ones initiating. They are matching with you on apps, starting deep conversations, and asking to meet for coffee or dinner. Your first reaction was probably confusion or even a healthy dose of suspicion. The last time you tried to date someone significantly younger, the rejection was often swift and brutal. You were told you were too old, or perhaps you felt the weight of being called creepy just for existing in the same space. But now the script has flipped. What changed? It is not that you suddenly became a movie star or found a fountain of youth. If anything, you have more gray hair now, a few more pounds around the middle, and perhaps a bit less hair on top. Yet, she is choosing you anyway, and it is not because she is settling or because she is desperate. She is choosing you because of a reality that most of society refuses to acknowledge. The men of her own generation have fundamentally failed to become the kind of partners she can actually build a life with. You, simply by surviving into your 50s and figuring your life out, offer something they cannot provide. This is not about manipulation or a predatory strategy. This is about psychology, biology, and sociology colliding in a way that makes age gap relationships more logical than ever before. The reason she is attracted to you is not what the world assumes. Let us start with your own experience, because this context matters for the journey ahead. When you were in your late 30s or early 40s, perhaps after a divorce, you might have tried dating younger. You were looking for vibrancy and energy, someone less jaded than the people you grew up with. Back then, the reception was ice cold. The age gap of 15 or 20 years felt like a chasm to those women. They wanted someone in their own age bracket who could keep up with a fast-paced, experimental lifestyle. You understood it, you moved on, and you internalized a specific message. That message was, stay in your lane because younger women are not interested in you. So now, when a 28-year-old woman suggests meeting up, your brain struggles to process the information. You wonder if it is a scam or if she is simply after your retirement fund. Here is what you need to understand. For a growing number of women, there is no angle. The dating landscape has transformed so fundamentally in the last decade that the rules have been rewritten. The same woman who would have rejected a 50-year-old man when she was 22 is now 28. She has spent those 6 years in the trenches of modern dating, and she has survived something you moved past decades ago. She has realized that most men her age are simply not prepared for adult relationships. When you were 28, you might not have been fully ready either, but the world was different then. You had social pressure, mentors, and clear expectations pushing you toward maturity. The men she is dating now were raised in a completely different environment. Many of them have reached their late 20s without ever developing the characteristics of a functional adult. She has figured this out the hard way, through dozens of failed dates and broken promises. So when she looks at you, a man who has done the hard work of becoming himself, you are not a creepy older guy anymore. You are the first man she has encountered in years who actually has his life together. She is tired of being a project manager for boys who refuse to grow up. She has dated the 29-year-old who still lives with 3 roommates and plays video games until 4 in the morning. He is not necessarily a bad person, but he genuinely sees nothing wrong with a lifestyle that lacks any forward motion. She has dated the guy who talks constantly about his potential and the business he is going to start someday. He is all vision and zero execution, and she is exhausted from being asked to believe in a future that never materializes. She has dated the emotionally unavailable man who treats every disagreement like a personal attack. He has never been to therapy, thinks feelings are a sign of weakness, and cannot have a difficult conversation without it turning into a crisis. She has encountered the perpetual adolescent who wants a relationship to be easy and fun every single second. The moment things require actual sacrifice or work, he bails. And she has dated the man who is still figuring out his identity at nearly 30 years old. That is fine at 22, but it is draining at 28 when you want a partner who knows who he is. This is not an attack on young men, but rather an observation of a generation that has been failed by a culture of extended adolescence. They were told that masculinity is toxic and that ambition is just another word for greed. The result is a vacuum of leadership and stability in the dating market. When she meets you, she experiences something she has not felt in a long time: profound relief. You are not a project she needs to fix or a child she needs to mother. You are a finished product, and in a world of uncertainty, a finished product is the most valuable thing she can find. Let us talk about what you have that men half your age simply cannot offer. It starts with experience, but not the kind of experience people assume. It is not about the number of countries you have visited or the books you have read. It is the kind of experience that only comes from surviving difficult things and coming out the other side. You have been through divorce or loss or a significant professional failure. You have experienced the real consequences of your own decisions. You have felt genuine regret and learned how to apologize and actually mean it. You have made sacrifices for your children or your career that you did not want to make. That weight does something to a man. It creates a depth of character that cannot be faked. It teaches you that life is often unfair, but you have to show up anyway. When she is having a bad day, you do not panic or try to fix her emotions immediately. You do not make her bad mood about yourself or your own insecurities. You let her feel what she is feeling because you have learned that emotions are not emergencies. When she is upset with you, you can stay in the room and have the conversation without melting down. You have had 1,000 difficult conversations before, and you know that a disagreement does not mean the end of the world. This is called emotional regulation, and it is a superpower in the modern dating world. You are also financially stable, which is a massive differentiator. You do not have to be a billionaire to provide this sense of security. It is simply the fact that you are not stressed about rent or living paycheck to paycheck. You have figured out how money works, you have a retirement plan, and you have investments. You are not asking her to fund your dreams or support you through another career pivot. Perhaps most importantly, you know exactly who you are. You are not experimenting with different identities or trying to find yourself in a new hobby every week. You are a known quantity, and that creates a level of stability she has never known. There is no guessing, no wondering if you will wake up tomorrow and decide to reinvent your entire life. You are also not threatened by her success or her ambition. Because you have already built your own foundation, you can celebrate her wins without feeling diminished. You can listen to her talk about her career goals and offer genuine support instead of subtle competition. You listen not to score points, but because you have learned that listening is the only way to truly understand another person. You ask questions that show you care about her internal world, not just her appearance. These are not things you learned from a book. They are the scars and wisdom of a life well lived. To a woman who has spent years dating men with none of these qualities, you look like a literal miracle. Now, we have to talk about the biological level, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Women are biologically wired to seek partners who signal stability and resource acquisition. This is not about being a gold digger in the way the internet describes it. For most of human history, choosing a partner who could not protect or provide meant your offspring did not survive. That instinct does not vanish just because we have modern technology and grocery stores. It operates under the surface, influencing attraction in ways she might not even consciously realize. When a woman is 22, that instinct is often by social status, physical thrill, and novelty. She can afford to date the broke musician or the bad boy because she is not thinking about long-term survival. But by the time she hits 28 or 30, a massive psychological shift occurs. Her brain starts running a different set of calculations. She begins evaluating men not for how exciting they are on a Saturday night, but for how reliable they are on a Tuesday morning. Older men signal exactly what those instincts are screaming for. You have proven you can survive, you have accumulated resources, and you have established a place in the world. You are an established entity, not a gamble. There is also a pair bonding dynamic that people rarely discuss. When she dates men her own age, she is often their first serious relationship or their first attempt at cohabitation. They are still learning how to bond, and the relationship often feels unstable because the man is still maturing. You have already been through that process and refined your ability to create emotional intimacy. From an evolutionary perspective, you are simply a safer bet. You are past the phase of life where men are at the highest risk for flaking out or chasing every new shiny object. You have already sown your wild oats, as the old saying goes. You are settled, and there is an undeniable beauty in that stillness. She is a fully formed adult making an informed decision based on both experience and biology. She is choosing you because her conscious mind and her unconscious instincts are finally in alignment. They are telling her that you are the partner who can actually provide the life she wants to live. Let us step inside her head for a minute to understand her perspective more clearly. What she has been looking for is a partner who can match her own level of psychological development. By the time a woman is 28, she is often 5 to 7 years ahead of men her own age emotionally. She has likely done the therapy, read the books, and worked on her own attachment style. She is emotionally literate in a way that most 28-year-old men simply are not. When she tries to have a vulnerable conversation with a peer, she often runs into a brick wall of defensiveness. With you, she can finally have the conversations she needs to have. You have been forced to develop your emotional intelligence through the trials of your own life. You can meet her where she is without fear or judgment. She is also looking for someone who has a vision for their life and is actively living it. You have your routines, your hobbies, your long-term friendships, and your goals. You are not a blank slate waiting for a relationship to give you a sense of purpose. This is incredibly attractive because it means she does not have to be your life coach or your therapist. She gets to be your partner, part of a life that is already moving in a positive direction. She also appreciates that you are secure enough to give her space. Men her own age often struggle with insecurity when a woman prioritizes her career or her friends. They need constant reassurance because their own foundations are still shaky. You do not need that because you are secure in who you are. You can let her have her own life without spiraling into anxiety. There is also a very practical aspect to this attraction. She wants a partner who can co-create an actual adult life with her. She wants someone who can plan a vacation, manage a household, and make long-term financial decisions as an equal. Most men her age have been living like college students well into their late 20s. They do not understand what an adult partnership actually requires in terms of logistics and responsibility. You have lived it for decades and you know how to make life function smoothly. She is tired of dragging a partner along behind her. She wants someone who can stand next to her. However, we must acknowledge the complexity she faces when she chooses you. She knows what she wants, but she also knows the avalanche of judgment that is coming her way. Her friends will ask if this is a father figure thing or if she is just looking for a shortcut. They will treat her choice like a red flag that requires an intervention. Her family might be even more critical, assuming you are taking advantage of her or that it is only about money. Modern culture has created a narrative where any significant age difference is automatically viewed as a power imbalance. Even though humans have practiced this for thousands of years, it is now treated as something suspicious. She has absorbed this messaging and it causes her a great deal of private stress. She might be hesitant to post about you on social media or vague with her coworkers about her relationship. She introduces you carefully, testing the reactions of those she trusts before revealing the full truth. She often feels like she has to defend a choice that should not require an excuse. This creates a strange dynamic where she is confident in private but cautious in public. It is not because there is anything wrong with the relationship itself. It is because society has lost the ability to recognize that compatibility is not determined by a birth year. She also will not admit publicly that men her age are failing to meet her needs. It sounds mean, and it sounds like she is bashing an entire generation of men. But in her private thoughts, she knows the truth because she has lived it. She stays quiet, enjoys the stability you provide, and deals with the social cost in her own way. The irony is that many of the people judging her would make the same choice if they felt what she feels. Now, we must be honest about what does not work because this is not a fairy tale. The age gap creates very real challenges that require mature handling. The first major issue is the difference in life stages. You might be thinking about winding down your career and traveling while she is just hitting her professional peak. You have already done the nightclub and high-energy social phase. She might still have some of that energy left in her system. This requires a massive amount of compromise and open communication. If she expects you to have the energy of a 28-year-old, resentment will build. If you expect her to immediately settle into a retired lifestyle, she will feel stifled and trapped. Then there is the reality of health and aging. You are going to age faster than she is, and that is a fact that cannot be ignored. By the time she is 50, you will be in your 70s. This means she will likely become a caretaker much earlier than she would with a partner her own age. You both need to have honest, difficult conversations about what that future looks like. The most significant potential incompatibility is the issue of children. If she wants them and you have already raised yours and have no desire to start over, the relationship has an expiration date. You cannot compromise on a human life, and pretending otherwise is a recipe for disaster. You also have different cultural reference points that can occasionally feel alienating. You remember the 80s and 90s vividly. She grew up with a smartphone in her hand. Sometimes you will not get her memes and she will not understand your music references. These are small things, but they can accumulate and create a sense of being from different worlds. Then there is the social perception issue that affects both of you every time you leave the house. When you are out together, people will stare and they will assume things that are often untrue. She might be treated like your daughter until it becomes clear she is your partner. You might be treated like you are having a midlife crisis or exploiting someone younger. That constant low-level pressure wears on a relationship over time. Finally, there is the reality that any relationship can fail, regardless of the age gap. When it does, people will immediately point to the age difference as the sole cause. They will ignore the personality conflicts or the value differences and blame the numbers. These challenges do not mean age gap relationships are doomed to fail. Many of them work beautifully and provide a level of satisfaction that same-age relationships often lack. But they do require both people to be exceptionally realistic and communicative. If you are not willing to have the hard conversations about kids, health, and future plans, this will not work. But if both of you are mature enough to address those issues head-on, the age gap becomes just another detail. It is a factor among many, not the defining characteristic of your bond. So where does this leave you as a man in his 50s? If you are suddenly receiving attention from younger women, you need to navigate it with wisdom. First, do not be the man that society expects you to be. Do not pursue women in their early 20s who lack the life experience to meet you as an equal. The women who are genuinely compatible with you are those in their late 20s and 30s. These are women who have lived enough life to know exactly what they are looking for. They are choosing you for real, grounded reasons, not because they are naive or easily impressed. Second, be ruthlessly honest about what you are looking for from the very beginning. If you do not want to get married again or have more children, say that on the first date. Do not waste her time or yours pretending to be open to things that you are not. Third, do not let the age gap become the entire identity of the relationship. If every conversation is filtered through the lens of you are older or she is younger, it becomes exhausting. Focus on the shared values, the mutual respect, and the genuine connection you have built. Fourth, recognize that this is not a charity case and she is not doing you a favor. She is making a calculated, adult choice based on what she wants for her own life. Do not treat her like a prize you won. Treat her like a partner who chose you for specific, valid reasons. Give her the same respect and autonomy you would give any other partner. And finally, enjoy the life you have built and the wisdom you have earned. If you have found someone who values your stability and appreciates your maturity, that is rare. Do not sabotage it with insecurity or by waiting for her to wake up and leave. The cultural narrative will always say that this shouldn't work. It will tell you that there is always a power imbalance or that it is inherently inappropriate. But the reality of human connection is far more complex than a birth year on a calendar. Sometimes a 28-year-old woman and a 55-year-old man are simply better suited for each other. They might have a deeper compatibility than she could find with anyone in her own generation. That is not wrong, it is not shameful, and it is certainly not predatory. It is two adults making informed choices based on who they are and what they need. If that is where you find yourself, stop questioning it and stop listening to the critics. Just be the man she saw in you, the stable, mature, and emotionally intelligent partner she has been searching for. Because that is exactly why she is here, and that is why this relationship works. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the changing dynamics of modern dating. If this resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear this perspective. Remember, your value as a man does not decrease with age. If anything, it only deepens. Stay grounded, stay wise, and stay true to the man you have become.